You know, some of the biggest battles in history weren't fought with swords and shields, but with ideas. And this is the story of one of those battles. A huge, high-stakes debate over the fate of the human body, led by one of the sharpest and fiercest minds of the early Christian world.
I mean, it's the ultimate question, right? What happens to your body when you die? Does it just go back to the earth and that's it? A forgotten shell? Or is there something more to the story? It's a question that gets at our deepest fears and, well, our greatest hopes.
Well, back in the 3rd century, in a world that pretty much despised the physical body, one guy stood up and gave an answer that was so radical, so completely out there, it just blew everyone's minds. He said the body isn't disposable trash, it's absolutely essential.
Okay, so let's get right into the middle of this thing. The main character in our story is a man named Tertullian, and his defense of the physical body would literally change the entire conversation about life, death, and what it means to be human.
So who was this Tertullian? Well, he wasn't some quiet academic, that's for sure. He was a total powerhouse from Carthage. Think of a writer who's brilliant, passionate, and just relentless. He wasn't afraid of a fight. And his book, The Resurrection of the Dead, wasn't just some nice thought piece. No, it was a challenge, a gauntlet thrown right at the feet of a world that thought the body was garbage.
And here it is. This was his big, shocking idea. Tertullian argued that resurrection isn't some nice little metaphor. It's not your soul just floating off into the cosmos. Nope. He said it's the literal, physical return of the exact same body that you lived in, that you died in. You have to imagine, to the people hearing this back then, it sounded completely nuts.
But to really get why this was so revolutionary, we need to understand the world he was pushing back against. You have to see what he was up against to really appreciate the genius of his argument.
So in Tertullian's day, pretty much all the influential thinkers, the philosophers, the cool kids, they all looked down on the physical body. They saw it as a prison for the pure soul. It was messy, it got sick, it decayed. Even some Christian groups, like the Gnostics, basically thought the entire physical world was a mistake that you needed to escape from.
And this chart just lays it all out perfectly. On one side, you've got this idea that the body is a prison, the world is evil, and salvation is all about the soul breaking free. But Tertullian, he comes in and says, no, you've got it all wrong. The body and soul together, that's what makes you human. The world is God's good creation, and salvation isn't about escape, it's about putting the whole person back together.
And, I mean, the names they called the body, they were just brutal. They called it impure, weak, the source of everything bad, just a worthless container to be thrown away when you're done with it, a cadaver whose only destiny was to become nothing. That's the wall of pure contempt Tertullian was trying to tear down.
So, how in the world do you argue against that? Well, Tertullian did something brilliant. He didn't just poke holes in their arguments, he flipped their entire worldview completely upside down with one single powerful metaphor. And here it is. This is the phrase that changes everything. Caro cardo salutis. The flesh is the hinge of salvation. That very same flesh his opponents hated, he said it wasn't an obstacle at all. He said it's the very hinge on which the door of salvation swings open. So what does that actually mean? It means the body isn't just a passive container, some meat suit for the soul. It's an active participant. It's the physical way you experience redemption, from the very beginning to the very end. It's absolutely crucial to the whole process. And Tertullian just starts laying out the evidence, like a lawyer in a courtroom. He says, look at the Christian life. The flesh is there at every single important moment. It's formed by God. It's physically washed in baptism, it's anointed with oil, it eats the Eucharist, and in the end, it's the body that suffers and dies for the faith. So his question is simple. How can God use the body for everything important and then just throw it away at the end? It makes no sense.
Okay, so this leads to the next logical question, right? If Tertullian is right and our same body comes back, well, what's that going to be like? I mean, this was the biggest practical objection his opponents had.
You can just hear his critics scoffing, can't you? Oh, really, Tertullian? So the blind person comes back blind? The person who died of a disease comes back sick? Who would want that? And you have to admit, it's a pretty powerful common-sense objection. But Tertullian's answer? Oh, it's a work of art. It's so precise. He says the resurrected body will be non alias, sed aliud. Not another thing, but the same thing, made different. It's a fantastic little paradox, and it's the key to his whole argument.
So what does that mean, the same but different? It means the core of you, your actual substance, is still there. It's still you. Your identity is intact. But it's been elevated to a totally different state. It's perfected, glorified. It's freed from pain, from sickness, from death itself. It's the same you, just the ultimate upgrade. Transformed, not replaced.
Okay, so we have this ancient writer from Carthage who won a debate against some heretics 1,800 years ago. Why on earth should any of us care about this today? Because believe it or not, this argument is about so much more than just theology.
See, Tertullian's defense of the flesh wasn't really just about what happens after you die. It was a huge, radical statement about our lives right here, right now. It was a declaration that our bodies, our physical world, our day-to-day experiences, all of it, has incredible worth and dignity.
So if you're going to take anything away from this, let it be these three things. First, this argument gives incredible dignity to our bodies. It's not a flaw, it's a good and essential part of who we are. Second, it gives value to the material world. It's not a prison to escape from, but the very stage where salvation happens. And finally, it gives us a hope that's for the whole person, body and soul, together, made new.
Which leaves us with a final thought. We live in a pretty weird time when it comes to the body, right? We're obsessed with perfecting it, but we also feel really disconnected from it. Tertullian's ancient argument kind of forces us to stop and ask, what if our bodies aren't just a project to be managed or a problem to be solved? What would actually change in our lives if we started to see our own flesh as something sacred, as the very hinge of salvation?